AI can't be your friend. AI can't be your friend, your girlfriend, or your lover. But that hasn't stopped people from trying to use it that way. It's been marketed as a faithful companion with lifelike images and videos. The technology attempts to reduce human intimacy to nothing more than pattern recognition, vulnerability to nothing more than a facade. Indeed, the illusion has been bolstered in recent years by TV shows such as Westworld, where AI makes independent decisions outside of their programming and they might just love someone. To movies like Her, where a man falls in love with an embodied AI, just the screen before him talking with him through voice. Our minds have been prepped for the idea that it is a plausible substitute for human interaction. And as a maker of I really enjoy creating technologies with it. I enjoy strategizing and implementing plans and just executing and something that's really cool, like it's a study of human behavior. And through studying that, we're able to produce results, produce something new, produce something interesting, give value to other people. But that doesn't mean that I want to blindly accept all uses of it. And sure, AI can and will replace aspects of our work. That's not going to change. I mean, it's a fantastic summarizer. You give it a PDF and it'll give you out the bullet pointed summaries. I've had it make SEO analysis. It's really cool, right? I enjoy my YouTube feed being tailored for my personal taste. So, a cool recommendation algorithm. And I like receiving my coupons, like just in time purchases, getting discounts, like they've studied me enough to just give me the coupon that I want. I enjoy it. But that doesn't mean I think that AI is a substitute for my real friends. As AI friends, it implies that a friend is nothing more than an echo chamber of our delusions and our desires. After all, this AI is trained and tailored to mimic exactly what we want when we want it. And it says that a friend should have no agency out of my desires, out of what I desire for them. And that says that a friend's role is to agree with me and not to challenge me, to help me grow into a better person. And I think that's just an illusion, one that can't really ever satisfy. We only have to look at some of the really good friendship displayed in media, from stories that we've grown up watching and reading and watching the reruns of and new adaptions of. And one of those would be Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That was a really good friendship. It transcended class because Samwise was Frodo's gardener, that really didn't matter to them. It transcended hardships. I mean, you got to take the ring all the way to Mordor. What's more tragic than that? Misunderstandings and sacrifice all happened in that story, and that's what made them really good friends. Then you have Harry, Ron, and Hermione of the Harry Potter series. They were a good set of friends and they had arguments. They didn't talk to each other for long parts of the books. They had several misunderstandings, but in the end, their friendship grew stronger and they were able to do what probably another group of friends couldn't have done in that same universe, right? Or, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and if you want to tag in D'Artagnan in that, like, they weren't really the best of men, right? That's not really always what friendship is about. Like, but they were there for each other. And they stuck by each other even when they did some not so great things, and they worked each other through those circumstances and just showed up there. You know, Close friendships don't have to be romantic, and I think we have a way of trying to romanticize everything and just sexualize it. But sometimes it's just having a good friend who is there with you, who gets you in a very platonic way. And so these types of friendships AI can't create. Like, they can't be built without going through the everyday problems of life and the circumstance and the society that we're in, right? And while that requires pain, it is painful, it is going to be a far more fulfilling friendship than an AI echo chamber that reinforces our beliefs about ourselves. It's our mirror, mirror on the wall instead of learning to love, forgive, and live with other people and what that entails. It requires nothing from you to have a friend that's AI. Well, except for your money, right? So it's a transactional friendship, a friendship that requires nothing more than a tit for tat. You pay your subscription, you get that feeling that everyone understands you, everyone's with you, and nothing else outside of what you're thinking is right. But a genuine friendship isn't like that. It requires something different. So I took a look at the greatest friend of all time. And not myself, okay? I'm a crappy friend. It took me years to learn what it meant to be a good friend and even longer to build strong relationships with other people. And the greatest friend of all time, he was a man who could cross cultural lines, ethnic divides, and he was able to just speak to a woman who everyone else shunned, who his own ethnic group thought were a bunch of dogs and trash, right? She was ostracized for having a bunch of marriages, which she had no control over making in a time where women were required to marry whoever their family told them to marry, right? So she was shunned and she had no friends. And he walked up to her, he talked to her, and he showed her she was seen and known. And that is what a friend does. He, how many of us, I would say, today would do that? Like, I was having brunch with my friends on Sunday, and our conversation went through how people go to restaurants and they treat their waitresses like dirt. And they could be of their own ethnic background, their own cultural background, and they believe they're less than because you're not the person serving someone else. And that is a wrong way to view the world. The greatest friend of all time, he befriended people who, in a time where there was like a empire, and so this empire would collect taxes, and they would use people of the same ethnic group to collect taxes, and so that those people would collect taxes, and they would oftentimes collect more than the taxes and oppress their own people. But he walked up to a tax collector and he befriended him, and he had meals with him, things that weren't done because they were shunning the guy who was a part of the oppressive regime. And he challenged him to change how he was and how he was treating his own people and to change his practices. That's what a friend does, right? They don't always agree with what you're doing, but they'll still have that meal with you. They'll still see you and they'll still talk to you. You know, he had a friend who wouldn't admit to other people that they were even friends, kind of that shisty guy who you just want to be like, man, I can't depend on you all the time. But he goes around and he's hanging out with you. But the minute you go near people he knows, and he's like, I don't know if I need these people knowing I know you. And so he denied their friendship 3 times. Same day, too. And the greatest friend of all time, he was like, it's okay. I forgive you. I love you. You're my friend. We can move on from this and work past it. And that's what he did. It wasn't about himself. Like, the greatest friend of all time was concerned with other people, seeing people, helping them learn to love others more and forgive people more. And he could have been in his own time's cultural echo chamber of beliefs, right? But instead, he decided to challenge the leaders of the time. He went to them and called them out for their hypocrisy and how they were treating other people. And that's really amazing, and that's really tough to do. To these days, I feel like we're always in our culture echo chamber, saying what we want to say and not challenging each other and just continuing to stay divided. But he really wanted to challenge them and to get them to be better friends. But they didn't want to be that, so they killed him. And, that's a longer tale, a tale for another day. But The friends that he did make during his time on Earth, they went on to build better, stronger friendships with other people. They connected with people from prison into welcoming communities. They befriended slaves and walked with them along their enslavement. I mean, you can't always free someone, but sometimes you can support them and be with them through that. And I think that was a really hard situation to do. I mean, they didn't overthrow their government, though they did challenge the mindset of how people were treated at the time, and did do some pretty cool things after. You know, loving other people isn't easy. And that's why AI can't be your friend. AI can't teach you how to love. It can't help you learn to be vulnerable. It can't help you learn to sacrifice. It can't replace friendship with a knockoff, right? Friendship is about learning to make yourself into a better friend. And no, you're always not going to be great at it. I admit I'm a horrible friend a lot of the times, and I'm learning to be better. But, you know, why don't you go and read about the greatest friend of all time? His name was Jesus, and you can find his story in a book called the Bible. I like the book of John. It's in what's called the New Testament because it's a book full of poetic words. I love poetic words and meaning. But there's also Matthew, Mark, and Luke, which will tell you a lot about his life. And there's a lot more in there about how to be a good friend, how to recognize bad friends, and maybe not become deep friends with them at that level of friendship, right? How do you make a good friend? Like, how do you become what a good friend is? And why the greatest friend of all time would love to be friends with you.